morning. I'm going to do the Democracy 4, followed by probably the Europa Universalis Scandinavia model. But I tested with my core voter group, if you will, if this Madagascar model should be completed sooner rather than later, and I got a pretty good answer of soon. And I'm gonna be pretty much humped for this gameplay because our energy grid is completely collapsing, which is seriously dragging us to a deficit. We are at a electricity deficit of 10% almost of our production, which is not tenable. So you can expect my energy grid to be really fucked for this episode, but we'll get something done. We actually need a third solar to catch up to wind. So I'm thinking we'll do onshore wind, which is actually pretty quick, but this is gonna absolutely ruin my economy. And I can only do election promises, so this will get worse during the election cycle because I cannot do emergency actions, which is why our election cycle isn't gonna get too short, but it is quite short. The energy ministry has a huge budget, gargantuan. Actual budget is 287, but with the debts we had to take to build this whole system, it's over 1.1 trillion. When the stated budget is 287 billion. It's gonna also take a while for our currency interest rate to be good again because we're kind of sinking. Inflation is so far above interest rate because of the massive jump we had in our GDP. Like gargantuan when we went from like here to here in one cycle.
We are in a dead end.
We need to control the deficit, increase taxes immensely, and build a lot of electricity production. And when after that the thing becomes balanced, then we can start lowering taxes, but not at the moment. Excuse me, but what are you doing? I was 60 cents short for a pack of cigarettes. 60 cents is well within my means of making with work. It's about 15 minutes of bottle collecting at most.
We have subdued the rebel movement.
The geothermal and hydroelectricity that we're building won't be enough to provide us with electricity surplus. So, because they are small and rather inefficient, I think I'm gonna have to build one wind. But I don't know. I may just build a lot of geo and hydro. Wind is onshore wind is only 6 months though, so perhaps. Hydro is 700 billion at the annual production capacity of 0.3, while wind is 2.8 trillion with the production capacity of 2. And geothermal is 600 billion for 0.25. Fossil is probably cheapest. No, it actually isn't. I'm surprised. They're probably including some form of fuel cost in the production cost. Nuclear is 40 billion for 21, while on 40 trillion, while onshore wind is about 25 trillion for 20. But nuclear fusion is, these are all actually more expensive than just building wind, which is a little bit surprising. Wonder if the numbers add up. Because I don't see myself building nuclear other than to balance out the grid. It's actually saying now that I have an electricity surplus. Let's see if the deficit corrects itself, which it may not, in which case I'm absolutely humped. Then somebody killed me with a pump and drop scheme. First, driving down by increasing inflation, by increasing amount of money in circulation, by asking to exchange dollars into local currency and then spreading local currency to the market, causing the price of the currency to go down. And after the price of the currency went down, they bought a lot of stocks in the country, which drove up various indicators, which we weren't able to quickly manage. And then those indicators drove the economy to a recession and increased the budget deficit. But that depends on if the deficit actually corrects itself now that we have a surplus of energy. I'm hoping it does, but I'm fearing it doesn't.
I'll give you a quick update on the.
you wish to?
The participant.
We are awaiting you. The rioters have.
Come on, budget deficit correct already.
The participant.
The rioters have. The rebels have stopped fighting. The battle has taken a new turn. The rebels open. We have subdued the. Requiem?
I'm gonna play until like the 5th of January, and if until then the budget hasn't sorted, then it probably won't sort itself out after the economic slump due to the inefficient power generation. It should correct itself at least in a few months, but if it remains at minus 18%, then there literally is nothing I can do. Which means that we ended up dying due to the power grid collapsing. That's what it means. The GDP jumped up in like a single month by 40%, which made the inflation jump to well over 100%, which made the power
The rebels
demand
have sent
jump up by 20%, which is basically
Morning.
what we couldn't cope with. It took us a few. Ooh, that's a huge budget item. Okay, I'll accept.
Sure. Funeral?
And because the power production didn't keep up, the deficit went out of hand. Looked good for a moment when we jumped to like
The clashes have ceased.
5% surplus, but there was literally nothing about it. There was nothing to it. So I'm thinking as my next quote unquote simulator, I'll use the Europa Universalis Magna Mundi just because it happens to be the most interesting game that I have in my store for this. I'll probably play Democracy 4 as somebody like Japan just to see how to do in a country with very little organized crime and what we'll see in such a case. Because this democracy game demands, or rather,
Good evening.
states that the Japan model will be just as difficult.
I've been told. My
The deficit is expanding here, but going down in the other menu. So, and we built the power generators this turn, which is gonna drive up our debt a little because we're already at an electricity surplus. But around the New Year's, this should most likely reset. So we'll see what it says. I also have a very interesting game going on as Imperator. The Rome is basically the Stockholm people and took over the entire Scandinavian peninsula, but there's still like a little bit I need to conquer before I'll be like truly Scandinavia. I'm still like 1/20th of the population of Rome, so it's pretty minuscule, even all things considered. It's a pretty uninhabited wilderness.
It's your special.
For the moment,
The budget deficit. The preparations are.
Mr. Jojo Rabbit.
for economic.
I'll give you a quick.
We are in a dead end.
The participant.
You. I have just. We are in a dead end.
If this hasn't corrected by January 5th, I will just defund the healthcare industry and be done with it. You can rebuild them when your country actually has money. getting an autosave while it's also asking me if I want to embody the next leader is probably not good for gameplay stability. Actually so tired that I probably won't keep doing this for long. Really feel like I should sleep. I'm it. I could also document me playing Mass Effect, so that might be interesting. Though the game is probably too heavy for my recorder and will overheat and crash my computer. Everything is fine on the private life. I had a very interesting time talking on Norse map yesterday, and I had a couple of interesting discussions which I would never in 100 million years believe that I could have. It's literally something I never thought would happen. Mr. Cyber Jesus, good to see you again. How is Doom Guy? Have you talked with him recently? How was he doing? I trust that he's one of yours. What with being a demon blasting machine, he has to be one of Jesus's. And Mr. Cyber Jesus is definitely the guy to talk to. Now let's see how bad we did. Well, this was known to happen.
Here are the GDP.
And this is very bad.
Our scientific cell info.
The movement seems to be.
Yeah, that's really not what I was looking for. This is not the number I was looking for. So it looks like the GDP jumped thoroughly. GDP jump thoroughly destroyed our economy. Thoroughly. So let's do. I'm gonna be overthrown in 5 seconds. Only the bare emergencies. We're talking. Hungary. So Hungary. Let's go to education, and I think one of these was very expensive. There we go.
We are in a dead end. Our scientific cell infiltrated. Our scientific cell infiltrated.
Your country's
Good morning. Sure.
I'm gonna think about what to do next. It appears like the electricity deficit actually killed our entire economy. Might continue with the high surplus to do the debt repayment and a couple of other things, but it does indeed seem like it's a little bit off. It does seem like the GDP jump killed our economy, but I'm gonna have to think about what to do because it's now a rather difficult situation. It's rather difficult. I don't know why it did that to the economy, but it evidently liked doing that. I mean, a 40% jump in economy after the end of the war was acceptable, but I don't think electricity demand should be like that because there's no tax to increase on electricity demand, thus driving it down. There was only a fuel tax. So there was nothing we could do to control the electricity emissions, and that was about the size of it, or the electricity part. And there are a few other things that have started to bother me somewhat, so this might very well be the last episode. Thank you for tuning in. That was interesting. Thank you for tuning in.